I was with that guy every day for years. And one day I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go home. And I went home, got a call from one of my friends. Hey, bro, they killed your homie. They killed Yeska. No, that's lying, whatever. Called his baby mom. She started crying. Yeah, it's true. Why didn't go, bro? I don't know why I didn't. Like, you know what I mean? That's how I know, like, God had a bigger purpose for me. And now it makes so much sense because now I'm flourishing in life. I'm not surviving, I'm thriving.
Well, I love the San Gabriel Valley.
Welcome to the My SGV podcast.
So I grew up here and I still live in Alhambra.
I was raised in between Temple City and Alhambra.
Eventually resided in South San Gabriel.
Our mission is to capture and share the stories of the people of the San Gabriel Valley.
Monterey Park has pretty much been my whole life.
Well, I'm proud to say that I was born and raised in the San Gabriel Valley.
We believe our diversity is what makes the SGV great. And no matter where you are from, in the San Gabriel Valley, you will feel welcome. All right, SGVers, welcome back to another episode of the My SGV podcast. Thank you for tuning in. If you are new here, we bring you the stories of the people of the San Gabriel Valley. And if you are a returning listener, thank you. We appreciate you spending this time with us. If you are watching online, you'll notice that I'm in the chair and Scott's not here. He abandoned us for this this episode. Actually, no, he had to go to another meeting, so that's okay. Victoria and I can handle this. Normally, I go into this dialogue with Scott about something related to our guest, and today it's just me. So I just want to share, like, I grew up in an era, I'm 45 years old. I grew up in an era where VHS tapes were the thing, right? Like, we had this whole collection of them. We had a wall of VHS tapes, and Saturday nights were like, go to Blockbuster, look at the new releases, and sometimes check out the old videos, and like, that was the thing. And we had this separate rewinding thing because you pay a fine or something if you don't rewind. But that whole era was that's how I grew up. And now I think people they don't even know of that existence. Maybe you've seen a VHS tape before, but most kids, not that you're a kid, but most younger people don't even have an idea of what that is. So, well, before we get into that and our guest, I just want to thank Paris Baguette for providing the refreshments and treats every week for our guests. We really appreciate it. Go check them out. Say hi to Grace and Jason at Paris Baguette San Gabriel on Las Tunas and Mission. We do appreciate you supporting us that way. And if you want to support us, please consider becoming a patron on Patreon. Check us out, mysgv.net. You can help support the show that way. Well, I'm going to get into introducing our guest now. Today we're writing the beats with a music producer who spins the threads of his life into gold, platinum even, on the musical charts. From the streets of San Gabriel Valley, our guest has orchestrated a symphony that echoes through the halls of Billboard, MTV2, BET, and headlines across the nation. This architect of sound crafted his future with nothing but a beat in his heart and a vision in his mind. Defying odds, our guest transformed every challenge into a stepping stone, paving his way to success with unmatched creativity and a relentless spirit. Imagine this, an entire hip-hop album, not just influenced by, but created from the sounds of VHS tapes. Our guest didn't just push the boundaries of music production, he rewound them, played them back, and recorded a new track in the history of hip-hop. An avid collector, not just of accolades, but VHS relics. Our guest is a true pioneer in the collectibles space, turning nostalgia into groundbreaking beats. Please join me in welcoming today's guest, the one and only VHS. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, man. That was a wonderful, beautiful intro. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I saw this on like Shannon Sharp show, and I was like, man, he takes the time to like hype up the guest, and like, why can't I do that? Why not do that for our guests who take their time to come here? So thank you.
That was a wonderful way of wording that. I really admire that.
Thank you. So VHS, let's start with your name. Tell us about that. I mean, you said you are an artist, right? And that's why you go by that.
Yeah. So, when I really thought about like what I really want to imprint in this world, I wanted just to be as honest as possible. And I just feel like a lot of people, they don't really come authentic when they name themselves. So the reason why I named myself VHS is numerous reasons. I could be here all day honestly talking about it, but for me, the main thing is when I really look at my life, me being 39, I'm about to be 40 years old, 12, 25, 84. I understood that, you know what, my life is a VHS tape. You know, when I really think about all my greatest moments in my life, or when I just even like just think about a lot of my, you know, childhood and even teenage years, I mean, it was literally like you were expressing yourself earlier, you know, because I grew up very poor, man. You know, my mom, I grew up in a single household, you know, with just my mother. My dad was a gang member, a heroin addict. So, you know, we didn't have much resources, and my mom just always worked hard. That's one thing I could say. And she always bought me and gave me what I needed, except what only a man can give. So obviously that wasn't there. So you know what I mean. So she could only raise me to a certain extent before I ventured out and searched for love in dark places, I would say, because the streets are dark, you know, and nobody's ever beat the streets. So yeah, man. So for me, I think I am VHS, because when I really look at my life and look at my inspiration, it's just everything. It's a VHS tape. I'll get into that later because I'm gonna be sharing that. But yeah, it's basically, I just call myself that because that's what my life embodies, and that's my first sampling material as a producer. That's the first thing I sampled, even before records. I didn't know about records when I first bought my first beat machine back in 2007, 2006. I worked at Pomona Valley Hospital, and yeah, that's when I bought my first beat machine. And my mom actually gave me $1,500 on top of my hard-earned money that I earned from working, because back then it was it was either 3,000 or 4,000, I forgot, but it was the MPC 2500. I'll never forget it. And that was my first experience making music and sampling, was with a VHS tape. Nice. But also too, I have an acronym: Vibrations Harvest Success.
Oh, awesome.
So that means, you know, if you don't know what that means, I'll elaborate for you. You know, a lot of people don't understand, when you are a righteous person and you fly straight, a lot of good things happen to you because you're planting good seeds. If you want to do all that negative stuff and do all that, you know, street activity, whatever it may be, you don't even have to be street, but just negative things, putting down people, you know, like for instance, saying, oh, I'm not good enough, or just, you know, a lot of people talk negative. They don't even realize the power of the tongue. You know, what you speak is everything, you know. So if you speak nothing but negative, that you're doing yourself a disservice. So, you know, for me, I understood that. So that's how I became successful, by operating on a different vibration, which is a higher vibration, a faster vibration, not a lower vibration, not a lower frequency. So that is what I know for sure comes with success, when you operate on that vibration, which is a higher vibration, you know. And that's why I make the type of music I make, and that's why I am in the situation I am in. Not saying I'm in a bad situation, obviously, but I could be, you know, honestly making trap beats, producing for top of the line artists, but that's not who I am. You know, I make real hip hop music. And if you don't know what that means, real hip hop meaning sample bass with drums. You know, that's how hip hop started. You know, a record and another record, a sample and a drum break. That's hip hop, you know? So I still keep the same essence of the way it started with today's environment, which is all digital, but I don't even own a computer because, like I said, I don't subscribe to that ideology. I'm a very unique artist because of that. And for example, like, I don't have no music on digital platforms because I don't like what they condone. Meaning, like, if you have your stuff on Apple Music, Spotify, all that, like, think about it. You get 1 million plays, you get $4,000. Like, that doesn't add up, you know? I don't subscribe to that ideology. So for me, in order to listen to my music, you have to buy my vinyl, you have to buy my cassette. And I built a real cult following doing that. And, you know, a lot of other people are following suit. I seen Snoop Dogg, I don't know if it was a year ago, but not too long ago, everybody's striking against, you know, Spotify and all these platforms, because think about it, without us artists, they wouldn't even have a platform. So a lot of you artists need to wake up and understand the way this business really works, so you have an understanding of how you could flourish independently without mainstream artists and without selling your soul or selling out, or, you know, a lot of people do crazy stuff for attention or views and likes, because, you know, we're in the era of 2024, which means what? Clout, you know, all this crazy ideology, like I said, that I don't subscribe to. I'm an old-fashioned type of person in every aspect. I still open a door for a female, things of that nature. So I would say I'm old school in every way. So and I'm not saying that's the right way, but I'm saying that's the way I was taught and that's the way I was raised. So I'm gonna make my mom and a lot of my people that are no longer here proud of me by instilling those values to today's generation.
Yeah. VHS, take us back. The listeners are going to want to know they want to know that you're one of us.
Yes.
What's your connection to the San Gabriel Valley?
Oh man, I was born in Montclair, but that's just by default, right? Like, I mean, you can't help where you're born at. I was born in Montclair, but I was born and raised. This is something I want to for sure get the point across. Is I pretty much claim SGV 626 because I feel like I represent everything. I don't really like to stamp my name on one city, even though my mom lives on Cameron in California, in West Covina, in the Cameron Park Apartments, aka the C-Dubs, because growing up, I never had my dad there. So it was always my mom and a stepdad, which I never liked. I know a lot of people could feel me on that one. So I just, it was always just, I never wanted to be home, man. And I was always staying the night since literally 4th grade. I was always staying the night over a friend's house. My auntie, who lived the next apartment over, the next building over, with my Uncle Mondo and my 2 cousins. I used to always go over there. Or I used to always just go to my other friends' places to stay at night because I just never wanted to be home because I didn't like that my mom was with somebody that wasn't my dad. And me being young, I didn't understand that. So I just hated them, not even giving them a chance. I just hated every person that my mom was with, because it was a few, I had, I think, like 2 or 3 stepdads growing up. So with that being said, like, that's why I don't like to really say that. So if what I'm getting at is, like, I grew up in every city, to be real. Baldwin Park, La Puente, West Covina, El Monte, Rosemead, Alhambra, San Gabriel, Pomona, Pasadena. Like, I really grew up in those environments, really living in the streets and growing up in like I said, my other friend's household, believe it or not. So I don't really like to claim one city, but if I had to, I would say La Puente. I would say I'm from La Puente, just for one simple reason, because you're like, okay, well, what do you mean you grew up in these apartments on Cameron in California? That's West Covina. Well, so like I was saying, my aunt lived next door, my Auntie Diane and my Uncle Mondo. Like I just said, I didn't like being home, so I used to always go over there. It was the next apartment over, and my uncle Mondo, I didn't know. Like, think about it. Growing up, being in 4th, 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, you don't really know a lot that's going on. Now that I reflect on it, though, me being a grown man, now I could put everything together. So that's why I'm gonna give you now the story, because growing up, I don't think most people don't really know their environment. They don't really know what's going on, and they don't really assess it until they get older. So yeah, it's crazy because ever since I knew I was going to be on this podcast, I really had to assess my life to give the accurate story, because I think that's important, to be authentic in life, period. So with that being said, my Uncle Mondo, he was from Puente. He's from Duff Street, which is literally right down the street from that area. It's like literally I could walk there in 10 minutes. So I didn't have my father there, so that was like one of my father figures, my Uncle Mondo, RIP. But he taught me a lot. I remember when we used to play Monopoly, he used to be like, going down Puente Boulevard. And I never understood what the stuff he says and the things he was saying. But now that I'm older, now I understand. And then I had a friend named Adam Rodriguez, RIP. He was shot and killed in 2005. I graduated in 2003, so he was 20 years old. And he was from La Puente. So all the people that influenced me and that showed me, like, how to fight and just how to be a man, and instilled all these men qualities in me, because my mom couldn't instill it because she's a woman. They were all from La Puente. So I really feel like that's why I gravitate towards that, and that's why I say that. But I really would say I represent the SGV. I have it tattooed on me. I have the 626 tattooed on me, and that's why I really like to just say I represent the SGV. Even when I travel, go around all these different places, I always just say I'm from the San Gabriel Valley, and they always say, what is that? And then I educate them on that. But so I really identify with the SGV and the 626. Actually, the original 818, if you guys really know, the 626 is originally the 818. So I grew up in that era where it was the 818. So many of you guys probably don't know about that. I know Russell, for sure.
That 818 area. Had an 818 number.
Yeah. See, because back then there was a lot of party crews going on. There was gangs still flourishing, but it was a lot of party crews. And we used to have pagers back then. So, they used to have this thing where you used to call and they had a voicemail like, hey, you're tuned in with Sweet Cheeks from Mastermind's party crew, and leave a message. They used to come with these crazy like little advertisings for their beeper page, so when their friends or people would call from them, they would leave a messages and leave a phone number, then call them back. So like I just come from a real crazy time. But back to your point is so I identify with all SGV, to be completely honest with you. But if I had to say, I would say La Puente, just because I feel like that's the one that raised me as a man and instilled these core values that are very important and prominent in my everyday life of today.
Yeah, it sounds like it was challenging for you to accept a new man in your mom's life. How else was it like growing up for you?
Man, it was very hard, man, because I have an older brother who's a gang member. I have 2 older sisters. And then my dad, he was never there, obviously, and he's a gang member. He's from East LA. He's from 18th Street. And then his mom and his dad are gang members. And, they're from notorious gangs. My grandma, Happy, who's from Maravilla. And then her husband, my dad's dad, is from Sangra, which is a San Gabriel Valley gang. So I grew up, man, just very in the streets. Like I just told you, I grew up, I would call me a nomad, even to this day. Like still to this day, I still roam around and just go to hotels. It's crazy because I really live the same way I live, the way I growing up, meaning I just always travel. It's normal to me. Like I can't be in the same place for too long. Like a month being in the same place for too long is just, I don't know. I have to like get up and move, and it's cool because it correlates now to me being a predominant producer in the underground hip hop scene. But it was just very difficult, man, because no kid needs that. We need stability. I needed my father. And because I didn't have him, it led me on a path of destruction. Like I was, I was just seeking love in the wrong places, man, and searching for fulfillment on a hollow street, basically, because nobody ever beats the streets, no matter what anybody says. You can never beat the streets, So you may love the streets, but the streets don't love you. The streets don't love nobody, and it's always a sad story, So I had to go to jail and learn that the hard way, but yeah, it just was very difficult. So I went to drugs. I didn't even graduate middle school. I went to Edgewood Middle School. I didn't even graduate there because I was never in school. I literally didn't go to school. I was too busy tagging and just smoking weed and just doing outlandish things, hanging around with the wrong crowd. Literally, I've since 6th grade, 7th grade, I've been hanging around people that were like 5 to 10 years older than me my whole life. So that's a gift and a curse. But yeah, so I went to drugs and I never gangbanged, but I started tag banging, which if you guys know, you come from the 90s, then that's pretty much like gangbanging straight up. It's the same thing, where you from, it's the same concept, fighting, shooting, and especially back then. That's how actually my best friend was killed in West Covina in 2005 at a backyard party. He was killed. So yeah, it was very dangerous. So for the people that don't know about that and think like tagging is, no, it's just, I'm not going to say obviously it's not as crazy as obviously gangsters and gang banging and gangs, but if you think about it, it's still a gang and it's still very dangerous, So I started tagging and started, just being bad, doing drugs, selling drugs, and I just went on a very a path of destruction, and it wasn't good, man. I would say up till like, even in high school, I was doing this from 6th grade till like 2000, like 5. Like, no, I'm lying. Like 2006 or 7, when I decided to give my life up to my craft, to music fully. I quit my job at Pomona Valley Hospital in 07, and I pursued my dream. But before then, dude, I was just like, I was just doing, name it. I did drugs. I wanted to kill myself. So that's why I did drugs. I did meth. I did coke. I was just doing anything, shrooms. I was just on a path of destruction because, like I said, I didn't feel loved, even though my mom did love me. My mom did the best she could. And I love you, Mom. And she tried her hardest, but, I just couldn't get saved by a single mom. It wasn't enough for me. I was searching for my dad's love because growing up, bro, I never heard I love you. I never heard you could do whatever you want. You're great. You're smart. I never heard none of that, bro. My mom never told me none of that because my mom, her flaw was she always showed all her love and attention to her man. And her kids, she you know, she went to work every day and she was a single mom, but you know, my mom's problem is she likes gang members. Even till this day, like her last husband was from from Lomas. I'm so sorry. He was from Lomas. His name's Santos. R.I.P. He just died a year ago. So yeah, man, it's just like, so my mom being that, my mom's an old school gangster. She's a born again Christian though, but you know, she's like I always tell her, that's still instilled in you. You know, it never leaves. Even if you change your life around, it's still a part of you. You know, growing up like that, like it's a stain, like I say, that never comes out. You know, even if you transform, like even me, I'm transformed completely, but I still got a lot of that PTSD and, you know, a lot of that stuff in me, because that's life. You know, I don't think we ever get over it, dude. I don't think I ever gotten over it. I don't think I ever will. It's just I'm living through it now. You know, I just understand it. But you know, I still have PTSD. I'm still very alert when I go outside because I've seen so much. Like because of my brother, I was in shootouts in middle school, things of that nature. You know, and yeah, and this is in West Covina, mind you. For everybody that thinks, you know, I hear the stories like, bro, it could happen anywhere. It doesn't matter the place. You know what I mean? It's just, yeah, it could just happen anywhere. And so I don't consider any place. Obviously, there's places more ghetto than others, but it doesn't matter, dude. I've seen it all in West Covina. I've seen it all on Puente. I've seen it all in these areas. Anything you could say, I've seen it. In the West Covina apartments I told you I grew up in, a guy committed suicide. He was from Montevilla. I was like 12, 13, and the first time seeing a dead body, that was with him. He shot himself with his daughter in my apartments, bro. He had his daughter and he shot himself in the head in the restroom. Like, you know what I mean? Like crazy. So like, I've seen it all, man. Like, you know, and I've been through my own stuff. I've never been shot, but I've been stabbed and I've been fought and I've, you know, jumped people and I've been through a lot. So, yeah, man, my growing up was very, it was just very negative, man. And you know, when I dwell on it now and think about it, like, yeah, it made me who I am, but I'm not proud of that, you know? Like I see a lot of people today's they like gangs, you know, they glorify it and they think it's cool, you know, and a lot of these youngsters, they want to get tatted all over the face. It's like, I grew up from the era, man, where if you were fully tattooed like I am, it's because you were a gang member. There was no other way around it. Ain't nobody tatted like this unless you were straight out of prison or you were, you know, gang. There was nothing like that. And I did it because that was all my stepdads and my dad and everybody that was around me. So I realized that I'm copying a lot of things that I seen growing up. I'm a product of a lot of the things that I've seen growing up, my surroundings, just like we all are. Because you can't throw a good person to the wolves and expect them to be a good person. It's almost impossible. You have to get down or you have to lay down. And I wasn't about to lay down because that's not who I am. I'm not like that, man. You know what I mean? I have to stand up for myself, and I'm a man at the end of the day. And there's nobody gonna take that from me. You know what I mean? And if you are, then you know what's gonna happen. We're gonna go down that path. And I don't ever want to go down that path. But you get what I'm saying. We're all men at the end of the day, bro. And it's all about respect. So for me, yeah, it's just my childhood growing up was just very, very negative, bro, and very. It just was very negative. That's all. That's the best I could say. But yeah, I don't glorify gangs, and I don't like people that glorify gangs because I don't have a brother because of gangs. I don't have a dad because of gangs. So why am I gonna sit here and be like, oh, that it's not cool, man? And there's nothing to glorify about it. You know what gangs first started and what it originated on? Community and protect your barrio and your neighborhood and all that, because we don't want our grandmas and our moms and people getting killed and raped and children getting taken and stuff. That I condone that and I subscribe to that, but you know, for a long time, it hasn't been what it was supposed to be, you know? And that's the only thing I could say about that.
Yeah. It seems like you've taken some time to look back at that time in your life. And you've described it as something that you may be still wanting to heal from. Do you believe that you'll be able to heal or you know, have you made peace with the realization about your mom and who she is and how that affected you?
Yeah, thank God, I have a very wonderful relationship with my mother, man. I just, you know, I really love her. And yeah, I that's why I tell her, because I have a son of my own, man. My son's 9 years old. You know, shout out Gio Pristino. And you know, having a son and going to jail really taught me everything, bro, because I'm a hard-headed person. So at the age of 30, I was messing up my whole life till the age of 30, literally. Until 30, I went to jail and had my son, man. I was just heading on that path, dude, still in the streets, just doing, you know, all bad stuff still, and just, I didn't get it, dude, until I had to go to jail and had a son, because I had to learn the hard way. Some people have to, you know?
Was he born when you were in jail? Did you miss?
You know what's crazy? that was my worst fear, bro. Like, and it's sad because in jail you can't show that shit. You can't cry. You know what I mean? You can't do none of that. But inside, yeah, I cried a lot, man. And because that was my worst fear, for me coming out and the man was gonna be taking care of my son. You know what I mean? And I wasn't gonna be able to be a father to him. You know what I'm saying? So that was like something real big on me, man. Because I never had my dad, so I didn't want to repeat that pattern to him. And you know, that's why I changed my life around, because I don't want my son to go down this path, the path that I went down, or like go down that path of the streets. And you know what's crazy is right now he's going down that path. He goes to school in Long Beach, and you know, me and his mom ain't together no more, and it's looking like it's I'm repeating it. And you know, I do good, man. I take care of my son. He has new shows and everything. But what I'm trying to say is it takes much more than just being there for them and giving them their clothes and taking care of them. You have to really, really nurture your seeds, because that's what they are. They're your seeds. You have to nurture them, else they ain't gonna grow and blossom to what they're supposed to be. And I understand that. So now I'm just trying to nurture my son, my seed, the best that I can, you know? And that's why I stopped like really going hard on this music for the last 2 years, bro. Because I've been focused on my son and just being a good dad, because I can't fail at being a dad. You know, up to like my son was like 5 years old, dude, I was trying to be this successful producer, because growing up, dude, everybody associates producer with, oh, where's your Maybach? Where's your big old house? Where's your mansion? Where, you know what I mean? Where's your you know? And that's not what it's about, dude. That's not what music is about. For me, music is just my sanity. Like straight up, it's just my gift that God gave me. I don't know why God gave me this gift. I didn't choose this path. This path chose me. I did not choose this path. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, man, for me, it's just really about breaking generational curses and bringing generational wealth. And that's what I stand for, and that's what I'm about now. And I just thank God for him giving me the insight and him giving me the opportunity to be able to change my life around, man. Because so many of my friends and families, bro, are not here no more. They're dead. All my homies I grew up with, and a lot of people, you know, I call family, they're not here no more, man. So I want to make them proud also. You know what I mean? I know my homies and all my family members, my Uncle Mondo, you know, my grandma, everybody that I love, my dad, they're all looking down on me now, and I know they're proud of me. You know what I'm saying? I remember before my dad died last year, because like I said, he was a heroin addict, so he was on dialysis. He was diabetes, so he could hardly walk. He was on a walker. And I remember that, because I reconciled with him, because I wanted my son to have a grandfather. So I know for me to evolve as a man, I had to extinguish any hate I had for my dad. So I had to reconcile with him, bro. And you know how hard that was? To love a man that never loved me? That's one of the hardest things I had to do. But I did it for my son. I didn't even do it for my dad or myself, to be honest. I did it for my son, bro. Because I wanted him to have a grandfather. And my son got to experience my dad. He got to have his grandpa at least for a little bit. You know what I mean? So that is like everything to me. And yeah, just basically, dude, my son really changed my whole life, bro. Perspective on everything. Without my son, I wouldn't be here talking to you, bro. I wouldn't. I would still be on a destructive path, doing nonsense, being just a egotistical maniac, I would call it, because that's what it is, right? And yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. Have you thought, what does it look like to you to be a successful or a good dad in your eyes? What does that look like?
I would already consider myself successful, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because I could pay my rent off my passion, which is my producing, which is my art. So to me, I'm already successful. Anything else more than this is just a blessing, bro. I could take care of my son right now. I could pay my rent. That's successful to me. From where I come from, I shouldn't even have made it this long. I'm gonna be 40 this year, bro. I don't even know why I'm here. I should have died a long time ago. Like, for real, I've been in many situations myself. That night my friend got killed in 2005, I should have been with him. I always think about, why did God not take me with him? I was with that guy every day for years. And one day I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go home. And I went home, got a call from one of my friends. Hey, bro, they killed your homie. They killed Yeska. No, that's lying, whatever. Called his baby mom. She started crying. Yeah, it's true. Why didn't go, bro? I don't know why I didn't. Like, you know what I mean? That's how I know, like, God had a bigger purpose for me. And now it makes so much sense, because now I'm flourishing in life. I'm not surviving, I'm thriving. And that is very important. So that's why I would say I'm already successful. You know, at the end of the day, don't let nobody tell you what success means. Success, in my eyes, successful means, is to be successful is to just to be able to live your life, pay your bills, do the basic things that we all stress out about off what you love to do. You know what I mean? And then think about it. Actually, I take that back. Success could be just being a great mother and bearing great children and making them their successful children. Like my mom, I realized that not everybody is gonna be this big, grand, colossal person in life, bro, and change lives and do all that. But that doesn't make them any less valuable. Like my mom, without her, I wouldn't be here also. So like, you get what I'm saying? Like she's a success because she's a great mother. I've never seen my mom do any drugs, smoke a cigarette, drink a beer ever. Because once she had us, she changed her life around. That's why we moved to West Covina. Also, we lived in East LA, and I would have for sure been a gang member, 100%. So, you know what I mean? So success is, don't let nobody define success for you. You define your own success.
And how would you describe your relationship with your son today?
It's good, but I just realized how much influence I have. I just picked him up yesterday, bro. This guy has pen marks written all over him, pen. And then he has a cross on his neck. Like, obviously I have a cross, if you can see, on my neck. And I had to get mad at him yesterday. Like, what are you doing? Oh, I want tattoos. Oh, I'm bad. Like, no, you're not. I had to poke him on the chest because I don't hit my son. I don't believe in that. I had to poke him on the chest. Like, you're not bad. And he started tearing up. Like, you don't want to know what bad is. You don't want to go down that path. And I introduced him to one of my homies who's been in jail his whole life, tattooed from head to down. I had him talk to him because I want him to see and know what a really bad person is. You want to think you're bad? I'm going to show you somebody bad. Somebody that's been in prison his whole life. Somebody that has 8 kids doesn't take care of one of them. And even though he couldn't grasp everything my friend was telling him, it doesn't matter. It's all about planting seeds, ladies and gentlemen. You either plant good seeds or bad seeds. And I plant good seeds. So when it's time for the harvest, I bear nothing but righteous fruit, man. And it's, it tastes good.
Yeah, our kids see us and they want to be like us, right? Like,
yeah.
So I have tattoos and I have a little one, and she took a marker, and she was drawing all over it.
Exactly.
I was like, what is that? And she was probably 5 at the time, and she's like, it's a tattoo, Daddy. And I was like, why did you do that? And she's like, it's like a tattoo like you. And I was like, oh. It was so cute, but I was like, oh no, what do I say to that? So cool. VHS, we ask each guest to bring an item with them. What did you bring with you today?
So today I bring this.
Can you show it here? Awesome. So for the listening audience, can you describe that?
Sorry.
Yeah.
So what this is everything to me. So growing up, we didn't have much, My mom still lives in those Section 8 apartments, by the way, on Cameron, California. She's still there. So for this means a lot to me because this was my first VHS tape. I got it at the age of 6 years old. And back in those days, just going to the movie store was everything because, like I said, we didn't have much. I didn't do much. We didn't get much. So to go to a video store and to rent a video game or rent a VHS tape was a very big deal. A very big deal. And this was my first VHS tape that I got at Burger King in 1990. And I'll never forget it because it was right next to the Eastland Center. There's that Burger King's still there, but the movie theater is not there. There used to be a movie theater right next to the Burger King right there by the Eastland Center. And that's where I seen Ninja Turtles for the first time. That was the first movie that impacted my life and that I really loved and it became a very prominent in my life. And this is the tape that I got from right next to the Burger King. And ironically enough, it came full circle when I got my first beat machine in the early 2000s. I don't remember the exact year, but in the early 2000s. And I didn't know about records back then. I didn't sample. I didn't buy records or even collect. But I had VHS tapes because growing up, that was my era. Like I remember watching Friday for the first time on bootleg, on VHS. So it's a trip because when I had this and I got my first beat machine, it's actually the first thing I was sampling. So I had a TV, the old school ones with the VCR that's in it. So it's a unit with the TV and the VCRs in it. It's one together. And it's the OG one, the Sony, the white one that most people had in their house. So I hooked up my beat machine to that. And this is actually the first VHS tape that I sampled and started getting involved into producing. was a VHS tape. So it wasn't records. So that's another reason why I call myself VHS. And this is why this tape means a lot to me, because it was my first VHS tape as a 6-year-old kid. And ironically, it was the first thing I sampled as a music producer. And then now it's just, it came full circle. So it's crazy.
Awesome. Can I see?
Yes.
Awesome. Thanks for bringing it in. So this is a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles VHS, April Foolish.
Yeah.
So when it says Burger King Kids Club.
Yeah.
So this is like they're doing music on here.
Oh no, it's a cartoon. So back then they had cartoons. So let me educate you real quick. So back in those days, since VHS was so prevalent in that culture back in those days, that's how they marketed. Pizza Hut, the back of cereal boxes, Burger King, like, you know, all these places. That's the way they were they advertised and marketed back then, through VHS tapes. So yeah, that's why they give out VHS tapes. And this is a cartoon. It's not music. I'm a sample-based producer, so I'm not a musician. I sample stuff and I add my own ring to it. You know what I'm saying? My own rendition.
So what does that mean? Like you sample, like they're saying something, or there's a sound effect?
No, there's sounds in there. Just say like there's like a or something, and then I'll just put like, you know what I mean? Then I add my drums and make it my own.
Oh, okay.
So I'll speed it up, slow it down. You know, there's plenty of ways to make it your own. You know, but yeah, I take sounds and I compose them together with my drums, and it becomes a hip hop instrumental or a hip hop track if I get a singer or a rapper on it.
Ah, okay. And you can hook up one of those old school like units to a machine to extract just the sound?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
I used the MPC 2500 back then.
Interesting.
Now I use the SP.
Did you just discover that on your own, or how did you find out that you can do that?
I always been infatuated with hip hop. So that's hip hop, man. You sample stuff. That's, like I said, that's where hip hop originated from. 2 records, a drum break and a sample, and you put it together, and that's hip hop.
So were you pursuing this interest like during, you know, this difficult life of yours? Was this always ongoing in the background?
Yeah, that's why I know God had a path for me, bro. Because there's video of me on VHS. They have my shout out my Uncle Johnny. He used to always record on a VHS tape. Every family meetings, everything. He used to always record. So they got me like 5, 6 years old, 7 years old, rapping Too Short. Like, you know, come on, bro. I'm rapping Too Short at 5 years old. There's videos of me, 6 years old, like saying, you know, I mean, everybody knows Too Short. I shouldn't be rapping and listening to that. But I had an older sister and I had an older brother. I have 2 older sisters and an older brother. So like I said, I grew up around at least people 5 years to 10 years older than me my whole life. So it was a gift and a curse, because I was advanced, but at the same time, you know, you still don't want to lose your kid, and I lost a lot of my kid in me because of that.
Wow. Okay. So you've been music was a big part of your life for a long time.
Yeah, exactly. So it's always been influential. It literally, like I said, since 6 years old, I've been rapping. So the thing about me that I want you to know that I didn't say is I actually started off rapping first. I didn't produce at all. So when I first got my first beat machine in the early 2000s, my friend named Mark Brennis, aka he goes by Architect now, he actually was going to Los Angeles recording school. I was making beats when I met him with my 2500, and yes, I was sampling with my VHS tapes at the time. But he was going to Los Angeles recording school, and he had a crazy mansion house. He lived in the hills of West Covina, in a $1 million house. He went to Bishop Amat. I met him through a mutual friend, but he was doing music. So we linked up through a mutual friend, and he's like, "Hey, bro, I need a rapper." Like, you know, he's like, "I need somebody to rap." He's like, "I know you rap. That's what you really do." Because I really was a rapper. I didn't. Back in those times, I just wanted to make beats because I never had. So I was like, you know what, let me make beats. Because back in those days, I was already a known rapper in the SGV. Like, everybody knew me back in those days. You know what I mean? Because I used to go battle everywhere. We used to battle people, bro. That's how we got our respect. We used to pull up and just battle from Pomona to South Central, Project Blow, like straight up. We would battle people. That's how we would do it, you know? And he's the one that told me, like, "Hey, I need a rapper, man. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna sell my beat machine because it was a lot of money. And then I'll buy a mic, because that's what I did. And I bought a microphone. I sold my beat machine, bought a microphone, and then me and him linked up. And he was already going to Los Angeles recording school. So he taught me about actually producing and making beats. And he used to buy records, crazy records, and he started sampling it. He showed me about real producing and really how to do it. But I already knew how to rap. Because I've been rapping literally since, like I said, like 5-6 years old. I've been rapping, even if it's other people's stuff. I still was fluent in that language. You understand? So when he told me that, I was like, it's a no-brainer. Let's do it. So then we started making music, and that's how it happened. And I didn't start back making my producing until me and him had a falling out, because I was living with him at the time, bro. And his dad is well off. He's a millionaire, and his dad just took care of me for years, bro. He was like my dad. Shout out Marco Brenes. Like, he was like my dad. He was my only father figure in my life. He took care of me. I lived at his house. Back in those days, we lived in the retreat. That's in Corona. Anybody that knows, that's in the hills. Warren G lived there. Like, many famous people lived there. Like, you had to call in just to get in. Like, you couldn't even come into it. It was like like whatever, closed off. It was like for all rich people, the retreat Corona. You know what I'm saying? Anybody that knows about that knows. And so I had my experience of the first music industry in there, rapping. I worked with Night Owl, RP, Ramon Corona. That's a buddy of mine's. Anybody that knows, he was the first Mexican rapper signed to Eazy-E, but Eazy-E died before he got his launch. But he was the first Chicano rapper to be signed to Eazy-E, which is also a friend of mine's. So I worked with a lot of rappers like that were prevalent back in those days, like Omar Cruz, just a lot of different people, man. So I got my first taste of the music industry actually with rapping. And it wasn't until me and him having a falling out, because I had this epiphany one day at his house where I was like, I'm never going to evolve as a man, bro. Me being here, I felt like a baby, a grown man, like, a grown man taking care of another grown man. Like, I was 30 years, like 27 at the time. So something just hit me in my head, like, I have to go back to ground one. So literally I went back to ground one, bro. And because of that, my friend got very mad at me, because he's like, bro, we've been doing this for how long, and now you're just gonna give up on me, and now you're just gonna, when we're this close, because we were close, dude. We did a lot of big things, you know what I mean? And I was like, you know what? Nah, bro. I'm sorry, I can't do it. So me and him had a falling out because of that. We didn't talk for years, and but I went back to square one, meaning I was homeless. I was literally just homeless, dude. I'm not even playing. I was just going home, like place to place, just sleeping where I could sleep, going to numerous different places, but I was rapping. You know what I mean? I was rapping, and I was like, I'm gonna figure it out, dude. I got on EBT, just the whole thing, man. And I slowly but surely started, going back into the person I knew I was always gonna be. And slowly but surely, dude, I was like, you know what? This rapping thing's not gonna work for me. I had to really look in the mirror, man. And I was like, you know what? I'm not supposed to be rapping. I think I'm supposed to produce. It like dawned on me, like, cause that was my first real journey producing. I always rap, but I never took it serious. Like, I didn't record growing, like in middle school or in high school. I never recorded. I just rapped, and I think it was just an outlet for me, bro, to cause all that stuff growing up, it was very, I had all this stuff bottled up. So to rap and be like, F you or whatever, just to let it all out, it was very therapeutic. So I think that I just gravitated more towards it because of that. But I know really it was producing the whole time, bro. I just knew it. So when I had this epiphany, I bought another beat machine, and then I started up, and then, the rest is history. That's pretty much the timeline for me. And then now me and Architect, we're best friends again, and that's my brother. And I'm glad that we put all that stuff behind us, and we're both flourishing and doing good, and we still do business to this day. So that's my best friend, man. And I'm just grateful that, that we have that relationship, because it really hurt me and it hurt him for us to split. But he knows that I needed to do that, dude. I needed to find myself and be a man. And that's how I had a kid. And that's just the way life works, bro. You know what I mean? And it's crazy, but that's the way my life worked for me. So.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I know you've, won some awards and all that, but yeah. I want to get into that, but let's take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Okay.
Sometimes, even the best of us can slip up. That's why the law offices of Scott Wormuth are here to pick you back up again.
And while they strive to get you the biggest compensation possible, oh my gosh!
Their main concern is your health and recovery. They work closely with doctors and insurance companies to make sure you get the proper medical treatment.
Initial consultations are free, so give them a call.
At the law offices of Scott Wormuth, we're with you all the way.
I'm Scott Wormuth. We've been fighting for your rights for more than 40 years.
All right, we're back with VHS. VHS, before the break, you were sharing with us, sort of how you had this musical inclination most of your life, it seems. Yeah. We want to get back to your story, but when we come back from the break, we like to ask questions from this deck of cards called Icebreakers. And it's just a way for the audience to get to know us a little bit more. So you can choose to answer it. Tori and I will also answer the question as well. Okay. So here we go. What are you most looking forward to in the next 10 years?
The way my career unravels. That's what I'm looking forward to. Since I had so much darkness growing up, now I'm looking forward to the light.
Nice. Victoria, you want to go next?
Sure. I think just seeing how our family grows. Like my older sister just got married, and so I think it'd be cool, like seeing, I guess, the rest of my siblings get married, and then seeing any children that happen.
Oh, nice. For me, that's pretty easy. I'm very much looking forward to the next 10 years with my family, my kids, seeing them at every level, learning things, going through life, my marriage, just the family stuff, like, realizing like after a certain time, like your time with them is very limited, so. Well, if you're watching online or listening, what are you most looking forward to in the next 10 years? Let us know in the comments. So VHS, back to you. I mentioned in the introduction that you had been recognized and you had won some awards. Maybe that might be uncomfortable for you to share, but maybe for the listener, they want to know, like, so where did your path go once you started to really pursue producing?
It was a rough start, but like I said, God has his own, story for me, man. So no matter what me or anybody else does, God's in ultimate control of my path. So it's a very I would say, how do I explain it? Basically, the progression was fast, because like I'm saying, but I just believe it's because of the way I grew up. And I just think like God's like, here, bro, here's your blessing for just being righteous and flying straight, because I've only been in the music industry producing wise, like, I would say 5 years, you know what I mean? I've been doing it for like 9 since my son's been born. No, 9 or 10 years. I started making beats. So I've been making beats only for like 9, 10 years. But like professionally, like I would say since 2018, I would say.
So making beats, like I don't know, like that's just like, so you're looking for samples, and then you create a beat, and then you have someone like rap over it. Is that how it works?
Yeah. Or a singer. My actually first song to be on like BBC Radio and Selection. I know you guys are familiar with Selection. Was actually with a girl named Bale Akari. So she's a singer, and she's from India. So yeah, it's so I prefer to work with singers, to be honest with you, because rappers are too egotistical. And they're divas, to be honest with you. So I prefer to work with females. They take direction and they let me produce.
Okay, so produce was like you create a beat, and you're looking for a certain voice to sing over your beats?
Yes, I mean I always have somebody in mind. Yeah, when I make a particular beat, I always have somebody in mind.
And are people seeking you out to sing on your beats? Oh
yeah, most definitely. But right now where I'm at, like I was explaining earlier, I'm not really into that. I work with who I want to work with. There's a lot of people that try to pay me to work, but it's not about that right now. You know what I mean? It's not about money. It never has been. Obviously, else I would have been a doctor. It's just about being authentic and doing this for the culture. Steering the culture in the right way. Because in my honest opinion, a lot of these people talk about evolution in hip hop, but adding double time on the hi-hats, or the way it is now, drill music and trap, that's not an evolution in my eyes. I think actually that's the number one misconception in hip-hop. You know what I mean? So I don't subscribe to that ideology. I think that, to be honest, it's both. Yeah, hip-hop has evolved, but at the same time it's also backtracking because of the message. And look what majority of entertainers, that's what they're doing. They're entertaining when this is not entertainment. Like I said, I don't do this for entertainment at all. This is who I am. This is my life. I live this. That's a difference. So hip hop is something you live. It's not something you do. So I live this, bro. I sacrificed my whole life for this. So it's deeper for me.
See, I remember when we connected on Zoom and then on like Instagram, and I was like, can I listen to some of your stuff? And that's where I first learned like how you're keeping it on vinyl for people.
Yeah, or cassettes, both.
But you did let me listen to something, and the very first thing I heard was this line from Jaime Escalante is who he was playing, but it was Edward Olmos.
Yeah.
Right, from Stand and Deliver, and I knew that line immediately. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't. But
which one? He's playing.
Oh yeah. This is basic math. Basic math is
it's too easy for you burros, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, that's so like, I immediately knew where that was from. I love that movie. And it's from my era too, right?
Exactly.
But I was like, oh, that's really cool. So that's something from a VHS that you...
Yeah. That's you just said it. Yeah, that's the movie. Yeah, and see, for us people for all you guys that are not for tuned in that are not from California, like that's a East LA movie, and you know, a lot of Mexicans don't really get our credit in the music industry or in the movie industry. So that's like very a big deal for me. That's why I put it in there, because if you guys don't know, I put all my culture into my music. That's another thing I feel like I'm the only one doing. You know, I if you look at my page and you look at and you study my music and study what I'm about, all I do is stamp, you know, Mexico and my culture in it. But one thing I will say that I want people to understand is, I remember I did a show with Estenac. If you don't know who he is, he's part of Griselda. But anyways, he's Dominican, and we did a show in San Diego. It was like 2 months ago, and it was crazy. And there was Dominicans there holding up the flag, but he's like, no disrespect, got on the mic, he's like, this is, just so you know, I'm Dominican, I'm proud, but this is American culture. So it goes back to that, like, you know, we got to remember, like, you know, I feel like this is a big deal. Like, a lot of people, you know, Mexicans, obviously I'm talking about, but like, oh, you're a pocho or you're a paisa. It's like, we got to stop with all that. You know what I mean? Because that's just like, you know, what's the greatest war tactic? Divide and conquer. You know, and you guys are they're winning. You know what I mean? So you guys got to understand, like, we got to stop with that. And you know, at the end of the day, it's not about that. You know, even though we know what we are, we have to understand we're all the same, man. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, like, that's something that is real, that really bothers me nowadays, because all you people from Mexico, that's why you guys are trying to come here, right? Because you want to be in the United States. And then all you guys are trying to wave the Mexican flag. Well, then you wouldn't want to live back in Mexico, right? Right? So, you know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta understand the way things really are, man. And I don't think people understand that, because I get in a lot of arguments with people, and that's either the argument. So I'm like, okay, if you don't like America, then go back to Mexico. But you won't, because you can't even have a job. You're gonna you're gonna make $5 a week? You get what I'm saying? Because I know I've been to Mexico numerous times, bro. I'm working with one of my friends from Juarez, one of my homies from TJ, one of my homies from Mexico City. So, like, I'm very involved into the Mexican roots and culture. So when I see it, you know, it's kind of crazy and then, you know, even my homie from Juarez, he was like, oh yeah, well, your homies ain't really Mexican. I'm like, bro, you get what I mean? Because they're from El Paso, and he's from Juarez, and I'm like, see, that you get what I'm trying to say? So it's like, we just gotta empower each other, man, and just knock it off with all this, you know, nonsense. Because I feel like that's something I don't like, man, and I don't really like how we're doing it to our own people, man. You know what I mean? And that's not cool, man. I just think we need to just be pro brown, right?
Yeah. Well, you know, going back to that the movie, and you know, instantly you took me back to a time, right? And it's part of my culture too, because I grew up in the SGV, friends from all over. I grew up with a lot of Mexican friends. And another movie from that time that I think just had like an anniversary was Blood In, Blood Out.
Oh man, don't even get me started. Shout out Chivo, Peter, the big homie.
I mean, that's culturally like from this area. Like, it's you know, we're in a time that we grew up, right? So that was really celebrated. I think they just had a big anniversary too. But
yeah, I actually know Chivo. That's why I shouted him out.
In the Army, you know, so I was in the Army. And I shared this story before, but in the Army, the regular Army, not training, the first day in the chow hall, it's all separate. It's all white, all black, and all mixed. And I looked, and I was like, oh, I'm going to go sit over there, right? And most of them were from Texas and California, and most of them were Mexican. And they all had names like Mousy, Pelon, Flaco, right? And they all showed me how to, like, iron my Ben Davis, like how to crease everything. And I was like, wow, you know, my first weekend there, like, come to this barbecue. I was like, oh wow, okay. yeah, that was my life in Germany, you know.
Wow.
And
beautiful story.
Yeah, and so just that love, you know. But it wasn't so much the race. It was that, like, we were from the same place.
Exactly.
You know, like I knew where they grew up, and they knew where I grew up, and that was the bonding thing. So
yeah, and see, that's the way it needs to be, man. Like that, you know, like. We all have differences, so what's the point of bringing up people's differences, you know? Like, let's focus on the positive things that we have in common.
Yeah, for sure. Well, VHS, we're going to move on to the final segment of the show where we get to learn more about what you like in the San Gabriel Valley. All right, so VHS, this is what we call the SGV3, and we get to learn your favorite or most memorable places in the San Gabriel Valley. So what would be number one?
Number one, you already know I have to shout out Frankenstein's right there in the city of Union Street, La Puente. That place is very important in my life because we used to go there in middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade and buy football cards, basketball cards, Pokemon cards, you know. So yeah, and then the crazy part about it is now I take my son there. And now we still go, so the tradition is going to carry on after he has his son. So yeah, Frankenstein's, if you don't know about it, be sure to check it out. It's collectibles. They don't just have cars. They have many different things, you know, sports. It's basically it's cultura, it's culture. So
nice. You know what's crazy is that's the second time it's been mentioned, and the first time was earlier today.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Yeah. Okay, so what would be the second one?
The second one, I have to shout out, because it's both the same. It was called GCS. They still have one, but they don't have it no more. It was called the Globe. It was right there next to the Glass House in Pomona.
Oh, the Glass House. Oh, wow, I haven't heard that in a long time.
Yeah, so it's right next to there. And the reason why that's important to me, because that's where I went to a lot of my first free shows and shows in general. Because you got to remember, man, back then I was like 13 to like 16. I remember I even got into a Mystic Journeyman show at like 16 because PSE, he popped the trunk and I ran up on him and I was like, hey bro, I know. He's like, man, you don't know about this. And I started like talking to him and he's like, wow. And he gave me a VHS tape of Stop, Look, and Listen. And I got into the theater and I was only like 16. I was with my girl cousin and they let me in. It was 18 and over. But because I really knew what's up and he tested me and I forgot what he asked me, but I passed. And so you get what I mean? So it was so anyway, so that place holds a very good soft spot in my heart. I mean, that holds a place in my heart because that's where I experienced a lot of my first shows, and it really molded me into the artist I am today, just experiencing these artists that I looked up to that made me want to make music in the first place. And yeah, it was called the Globe. There's still GCS one in Santa Ana, but it's not the one in Pomona. And then there was this thing called Hip Hop Cafe in West Covina. It's the same thing. They threw shows there. They bring a lot of because growing up in the 626 SGV, there wasn't, even now, there's not really a lot of hip hop culture here. You usually have to go to LA, South Central, you know what I mean? Whatever. Like, that's just how it is, you know? And the IE's even worse. So it's like, yeah, man, those two places are very, very important to me because they helped me become the man I am today as far as being an artist.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. And what would be a third place?
Third place, I have to shout out a food spot, Snappy's Tacos. It's not there no more. I'm so saddened by this, Snappy Tacos. I don't know why you do this. If you guys want to reopen a different location, tap in with me, like VHSCU, please, because like, man, I would love to help bring that back. If you guys are willing to. But yeah, that was a place that my Uncle Mondo, RIP, we used to go there all the time, bro. Like when we used to rent videos or like after Raging Waters, he used to always take us there. And you know, that's literally down the street from where I lived at, man. Literally. Snappy's Tacos is right there by the In-N-Out. If you guys don't know about the donut hole, it was across the street from the donut hole. But it's not there no more. Now I think it's a Terra Madre? I don't know, but it's a coffee spot now. So I'm not happy with that. No disrespect. But nah, we need Snappy's back. That was my favorite food spot in all of La Puente.
Nice. Awesome. Thanks for sharing those three. Well, VHS, I really enjoyed this conversation with you. Thank you for coming here and sharing your story with us. People want to connect with you, find your stuff. What's the best way to do that?
Instagram, that's the only thing I have, at VHSCU. VHSCU.
And the H and the S is a dollar sign, is it not?
No, so that had to change because I just went by VHS when I first started my career, but it just was getting lost in everything, you know, because of the cassette. And then I realized I can't trademark it because it's a tape. Like you can't. That's like, how can you trademark a VCR? Like you can't trademark that. So that's why I switched it to a dollar sign. And then now when you put VHS dollar sign, you know, on YouTube or wherever, it all pops up. But I've only done that I think for like 2 years now. I barely started doing it like that because, like I said, now the first VHS got lost in the shuffle of the internet. So now, since I have that money sign, now you can find me anywhere when you just put VHS money sign. But I don't really have that much because, like I said, it's barely been like, I think a year, 2 years since I switched it up.
Nice. Okay. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show, sharing your story and allowing us to know more about you and what it was like in the SGV for you. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you guys.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Another show in the books. I really appreciated that conversation. Took me back a lot. And just to see this experience, growing up in the SGV from his perspective, and just seeing the man here today, despite having gone through all those things, is just an incredible journey. I really hope you appreciated that. I always appreciate hearing those stories, and I feel it's an honor to be able to share them with you. And if you like this kind of content, please consider subscribing to this show. Don't forget to like and share. Consider supporting us, becoming a patron also. And you can find our full back catalog of episodes on our website, mysgv.net. And until next week, we'll see you then. Thank you for joining us on the MySGV podcast. Check out more of our content on our website, mysgv.net. This show was produced by Scott Wormuth, directed by Russell Mano, edited by Victoria Allers, and original music by Yone OG. If you'd like to join us next week as we capture and share more stories from our diverse community, feel welcome.
Nice matter. No kind of matter.